We have quite a few attendees today. Thank you everyone for joining the discussion today. As you all are aware, we are running the month of cybersecurity awareness, and as part of that, there are certain global themes that have been decided. The theme for this year is "See Yourself in Cyber." What that means for us as the common individual, what that means for us when we belong to an enterprise or a corporate industry. So we have invited 4 panelists today, 2 from the public services and 2 from the enterprise industry. We have Dr. Triveni Singh, Superintendent of Police from Uttar Pradesh. We have Mr. M. Sharath, Superintendent of Police from CID Karnataka. We have from the enterprise industry, Mr. Darshan. He's the CEO of CISA Information Security. And we have Mr. Adeep, CEO of Trust Checker. Thank you, gentlemen, for being on the call today and for the participation. And to begin the discussion, the first topic that I would say is for the common people, what it means from a fraud detection and management perspective. So I'll open with Mr. Triveni. Dr. Triveni, if you want to share your insights around what it means fraud for a common person and how we can contribute into fraud management and detection.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, please.
So what is happening right now, cyber criminals, they are adopting different modus operandi, even we are not aware of, because they are very creative, they are very innovative in their social engineering tricks, and they are attempting lots of tricks, on the common people. I told you, even we are not aware of. So what is happening? We are trying to create awareness among the public about the modus operandi. For example, innocently we go on OLX and put some articles for sale. So I don't think that one cannot think that criminals are watching your goods and they are coming through that OLX platform. So they make a call to you. We are from the army background, or some trusted, from Navy, Air Force, and then by taking you into confidence, ultimately they send QR code, and once you scan the QR code, your money goes out. So this is very, it's because of non-awareness about their modus operandi. Everyone innocently thinks that, yeah, I had posted my ad for my furniture sale, and someone genuine here is calling me. The fact is that no, cyber criminals are there on the OLX and they are targeting you. For example, if you have ordered something on Amazon or Flipkart, they have got the entire database of the customers. Not only that, not a single day record, entire your customer history they have got. For example, if I get the data from Amazon about Mr. Triveni Singh, that 5 years back I had purchased a book, 2 years back I had purchased some articles from the Flipkart. They have entire data. So what they do, they make a call to the people. We are talking from Flipkart or Amazon headquarters, and your customer history is this, you had purchased. So you are a trusted customer now. This is a award scheme, reward scheme. We are going to give you the reward. So if he has that much information about you, so there is no reason that you cannot believe that it's not a genuine call. Same thing is happening with insurance industry, banking industry. They have got each and every details regarding you, and then they make a call, because there is a illicit market, underworld market, where data related with each and every entity, insurance, bank, e-commerce portal, everything is on sale. You just go and purchase, and then you create a call center, and then you start befooling the public. So if out of 100 calls, definitely 10 and 15, 20% people are going to be victim. So what we need to do is we need to focus only on awareness about modus operandi, number one. If you're not aware, then you can easily fall victim, and that's why even senior IAS officer, high court judges, senior IPS officer, professors, Even IT experts, they are getting victimized through their social engineering talks. Sir, am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, you are
Yes, sir.
audible, sir.
We can hear you.
Please go ahead.
I always emphasize we need not to be techno savvy. We need to be aware about the modus operandi, and that's the only single mantra. All agencies, state agencies, central agency, even data security council, they should need to focus on modus operandi, create awareness among the public, and only then we can save the innocent, or even the not innocent, those who are highly literate, technically very sound, they have fallen victim to. So, the only mantra is awareness. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Next.
Mr. Darshan, would you want to contribute from the enterprise perspective, your point of view?
Yes, I'll try to do that. So, I mean, from the enterprise standpoint, one of the key things that we are observing is some disturbance in the background, perhaps. So, from the enterprise standpoint, one of the key things that we are seeing is, obviously, organizations are finding it difficult to detect. One of the key things that typically I come from the enterprise world, from a forensic investigation. So they literally, we can break it up into three parts. One is the ingress, the second is lateral movement, and third is the egress. Using forensic language, which means that ingress is typically when an intruder tries to penetrate into a corporate environment or enterprise environment. And that ingress could happen from any system, need not be their core data system or servers or applications, which may be the crown jewels. It never works that an intruder straight away goes and hacks into a core banking system or a key database application. He or she typically would go into target an end system of an IT administrator or of any user, and from there would that's called the ingress, and then of course do a lateral movement into where the data is essentially residing, and then wait for the right opportunity to egress the data. So this is typically how, I'm sure all of us from the forensic background would have witnessed this. But what we are interestingly seeing is the dwell time, that is the time to detect an intruder in the system, in the environment. So now it is very hard for a corporate environment to make sure that there is 100% protection from the ingress. That is, no one can actually penetrate into the network. It's usually about 99% of it. So there is going to be a few of those who are going to penetrate into the network, and the idea is to detect them before they actually egress the data or take out the data outside the corporate environment. And so typically we call this the time to detect from the time to detect to time to stop them is typically, or to find out whether they've been compromised, is typically what we call as the dwell time. And the dwell time is typically now increasing, or rather is at about 180 days as per our forensic report. So thanks to the pandemic and thanks to working from home, this trend is actually is one thing that we are seeing, that more people, the dwell time, the time to detect an intruder in the corporate environment is increasing. And the ingress, which is typically the way the intruder actually penetrates into the environment, is typically what we are seeing is in terms of about 43% is, if not more, is through a phishing attack, where gullible users are kind of induced to a link where they download a malware or download an executable, which then compromises the system, and from there the intruders actually. So these are some of the trends, that we are seeing. What does this mean? The latest thing, I'm sure all of us have heard of the certain direction, which requires enterprises to report a cybersecurity incident within 6 hours. So this puts us into an interesting spot as to how to detect these kinds of incidents fast enough so that we can now at least let's quickly broad that with if that makes sense. Arpit, back to you.
Thank you, Darshan. I was just trying to be alive. So thank you for the insights, Darshan. I would now go back to the other side of the world. Mr. Sharath, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
So, Mr. Sharath, from your perspective, since you come from a department, so from your perspective, would you share some insights to us at how from a common person perspective, how can we contribute to this?
Yeah, it's every day it's growing more complex, and you can see a lot of complex things happening. And moreover, the very important aspect we need to know that the kind of phishing attacks which is evolving every day in and day out. So the complexity is more, and it is more than true to believe, and it is offering people to believe the circumstances in which they have been placed in. And I would also would like to reiterate and say this, that a lot of attribution is towards the policy. Now, if you look at how the RBI has framed the policy and how it is technology is evolving, probably there's a lot of catching up to be made in that particular perspective. Now, moreover, if you look at the policies which have been taken out by RBI with respect to the payment gateways, and how I don't know if anybody is aware as to how the Mumbai police is acting on the new businesses which is getting opened, and what are the measures which they are trying to bring into the ecosystem, and that's very important model to follow for everybody as such. That's one part of the story. The second part of the story is that, do we have a policy for co-working spaces? And we don't have, and a lot of mushrooming of these fake companies which are coming up. It's happening from co-working spaces, and the sanitization of the NSDL database is a must. So if that is not happening, and probably we are going in circles with respect to the same scenario of identifying the crimes, criminals, same modus operandi is happening again and again. That's in place. Now, the very other important aspect which I would like to bring into the perspective is that the data sharing mechanism between the law enforcement agencies is there, but it is not as effective as it has to be. I mean to say, like, for example, a person is caught in UP, he should be brought down all the way back to Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra, and he should not go back to his hometown. So that level of coordination should be there. And we have seen that in very, very limited number of cases. And there is a lot of limitation with respect to technology also, because, for example, there is a procedural issue also which needs to be followed. And there is no standard operating process for that. That is the reason is that, for example, I get hold see the mobile phone of a accused, and it is there with the arresting state. And how do I attribute that data in my case, and how do I present it before the court? So these are all some of the complexities which are there, where a lot of formalization, streamlining should happen. Only then probably, see, the thumb rule, the bottom line is very simple. You arrest the fellow, and every state should arrest the fellow, and every state should take them to custody. Only then the problem will be solved. But otherwise, we can't solve this problem, because there's a lot of loopholes with respect to the policy. So the sanity should be prevailed among the policies which is being drafted. Otherwise, it's very difficult. I would like to bring to your notice that what is this MHA is doing a lot of things in terms of feedback which is being given to a lot of agencies, including MCA RBI and TRI and other people, and that data is not percolating down to the policy level. So that difficulty is there. So once this is formalized, and probably we see more sanity prevailing in the amongst the crowd and the humankind which is going around. Thank you.
Sure, and I think this is the problem with the global industry as well. So I was interacting with some of the global folks, and the common challenge, as you said, that the challenge that you highlighted within the state, where you have a case and it cannot be offloaded or contributed from another state. The same goes in the international community, and right now in the digital world, kind of in a global environment. So that's a very good insight, Mr. Sharat. Thank you so much. I'll now come back to Mr. Adip again, switching the side of the industry just to keep the Mr. Adip, your point of view on the topic, please.
Sure. So I have a slightly different point of view. So at the end of the day, the social engineering modus operandis are very different. But at the end of the day, people are getting scammed on payment apps like UPI, Paytm, PhonePe, Google Pay, and the likes, right? So I think if there is like a common database of all the fraudsters, and like if there is a mechanism where people can actually check before they pay, I think this would solve like lots of problems. And we at Rashakar are trying to solve this and try to collate like data from like multiple sources. And we primarily work with fintechs, banks to really help them prevent fraud. But yeah, this specific common shared database, uh, which has like sharing across, should be shared even with the public, so that like they'll be aware before they make a payment to a stranger. So that's point number one. The second one is more around the lines of the data which is already available, right? So like lots of people go ahead on like social media, they post like I got scammed from Paytm on like PhonePe or Google Pay or OLX or Quicker. So I think like these places, there should be like some level of technological aggregation which should happen, so that lots of frauds can be preempted basically. So that's point number two. And so some of the stats, like we did an analysis on like around 300,000 cases, just based on the social media data of victims who have posted about scams. And like there's a clear trend which is emerging, like where they are procuring the SIM cards. Like for example, in Karnataka, if someone is getting a call stating that like I'm from like credit support or phone pay support or Paytm support, mostly it's not, the SIM card is not originating from Karnataka. So there are like signals which are already available, but like some level of algorithms, if it can be implemented at the payment gateway level or at the payment company level, I think this problem can be solved, and like lots of people would not lose the hard-earned money. And be it like any type of social engineering challenges or modus operandis, so I think the root cause is like people would not lose the money at the end of the day. So that's my take on this. And so even having said that, there are lots of effort which is put. In fact, like we were talking to Bangalore City Police Cybercrime Branch, Bangalore South, and like I mean, there were like lots of interesting insights which we got from them, and lots of things like fake websites, people going and paying on the fake websites, people going and scanning the QR code and entering their PIN number, so that like they are losing money. So lots of things, these things are happening. But at overall level, if there is an aggregation of fraudsters' data, that would really help, because a single SIM card or phone number is typically used to scam like 4 to 5 people in an average, and like every single number has like a specific pattern. So I think this would really solve the issues of social engineering for sure. Thank you.
Guidelines or the national agency guidelines which comes in. So there are policies which have been formulated from time to time. But we see a lag in adoption, both from the enterprise perspective as well as from the end user perspective as well, common user perspective. So from an enterprise perspective, Adip, how would you suggest that we can make it better?
So from the enterprise perspective, right? So at the end of the day, like if you go to like Paytm or PhonePe, their call centers already have like fraudsters data, right? So there should be some level of quality check and like some level of aggregation there. And also, as Mr. Triveni Singh and Mr. MD Sharath were mentioning, if the push is directly from the government, I think like things would happen. So CIBIL score, if since there's a direct push from Reserve Bank of India, banks are sharing the data. So similarly, if there's a direct push from at the policy level from the government, I think like these things would happen, and like there'll be like seamless integration of data sources for sure.
But in the same manner, if I have to ask Darshan, how would you suggest, or do you suggest that all this data, because every organization, even which is in the technology sector, supporting or managing the fraud and scams, they are collating some kind of data and building their own repository. And as Adib was mentioning, that call center also keeps some data. So do you suggest that we should have a national level repository of such data, and that can be then extended to the public service agencies as well?
Yeah, so good point, Arpit. So one of the key things I think is the certain direction, right, which has come off late, and which is mandating organizations to report incidents to certain, which is the nodal agency for collecting all these incidents. And I'm very hopeful that after a point in time when they have all these incidents, and we've seen that happen, is proactively as a country, we would be able to identify and defend our enterprises, because there will be common patterns that will be reported. And I think that's a good initiative. I'm very hopeful that the enterprises will start cooperating with this direction and start reporting these incidents, and that will get aggregated at the national level. And then as enterprises, we'll get that data back in terms of analytics and in terms of blacklisted IPs. And see, for today as an enterprise, when I come from the enterprise world, the intruder, actually, we have seen one, of course, ransomware attacks has kind of had a leapfrog. So the digitization has also had leapfrog of ransomware. And I was reading an article somewhere where it's in hundreds of percentages and today with multiple other form factors for receiving payments like bitcoins and crypto, the intruders have a way of being under the hood and avoiding law enforcement agencies to get before they get caught. So from that side of the world, enterprises, to your point, at a national level, it's getting aggregated. But whether that kind of intelligence is built on an international level is something that, there are multiple organizations which is giving threat intelligence. But I think there is definitely a lot of work that can be done.
Yeah, I mean, general consolidation, because see, every data is important, and for organizations as well, that data is important. They play on the data, right? So sharing of that data to a certain extent is what we should think in the lines of the ethics. Great, thank you, Darshan. Coming back to Dr. Triveni, so if from how a common person, so I know you and also Mr. Sharath would be doing a lot of engagements with the common to engage them more and make them the vigilance, the local vigilance that we call these FOX. So are any initiatives that you have taken? And I see a lot of people who have joined today are from the tech industry. So how can they contribute? One is they contribute to their organization and follow the policy. But as an Indian citizen, what should be our responsibility, and how we can contribute to your cause and aid your services? Any thoughts around that? Dr. Triveni? Okay, I guess there's some problem. So Sharath, I think the same question applies to you as well, sir. So any points or thoughts from you on that lines for the common people as citizens?
Yeah, very much. See, actually, the central CCPWC scheme, I hope you all know, they have come up with a very good proposal. Probably it has been implemented in many states. In Karnataka also, it's been implemented. So cyber volunteers is the concept. So they will be the kind of eyes and ears for the police as such, and also they are mandated to create awareness among the general public. And let me be very honest that without awareness and without creating awareness among the public, we can't solve this problem. It's impossible. So there are a lot of policy loopholes everywhere, and one way or the other it is exploited. Okay, for example, you don't have a policy for your co-working spaces. You have a policy for opening companies online, and you don't have the mechanism for verification, and they are overburdened with issues. Okay, you don't have proper policies for the upcoming technologies. Okay, for example, we have seen a lot of cases where one payment gateway is piggybacking on another payment gateway. Okay, so and then the frauds are committed. So you don't have proper verification processes. So there are a lot of loopholes where things are not in place. Okay, so for this reason, awareness is the key issue. Now, if banking sector is not coming together, IBA should come together basically to create some awareness content. That is not happening. Right. And the earlier speakers told that the sharing of data should be there. I was also trying very hard to bring all the bankers and all the payment gateways, all stakeholders in one page, and I failed miserably. And nobody wants to come on same page. And NPCI is trying to do this from last 4-5 years, and they are not getting a coherent view on this. Right. So there are a lot of efforts at the back end which is going on, but they are not culminating together. That's the problem what we are facing, and nobody wants to come together and see. There are a lot of other issues also cropping up here and there, and we are trying to resolve this. I tried to bring all the payment gateways together, and eventually had the plan of bringing all the banks together. We conducted a meeting of all the co-working spaces in Bangalore, but somehow things are not taking off as it is required, because there's a policy push. See, once things trickle down from the top, it will automatically things will settle. Now it is a pushing factor. The upward push is not going to help you in any way. So everybody will be drained out. So the efforts are there here and there, but the basic thing to contain this, curtail this, is awareness. And moreover, I don't know if everybody are aware, this one, what is that, CERT is doing an excellent job where they are constantly monitoring a lot of network activities. They are voluntarily sending out messages to various organizations that how unwanted IPs are communicating with the different servers in India, and how they are intimating them and asking them to take corrective measures. That's very important. And a lot of proactive things are happening. Cyber Swachhata Kendra is doing a lot of good work on that. So, but still, there's a long way to go, but things are there honestly in the right direction, but it will take time. Thank you.
Sure, and thank you, Dr. Shirar. And while you are there on the forum, we have a question from one of our attendees about the data protection bill. So when the data protection bill was getting implemented, apart from MLAT, is there any other method to get data from international intermediaries, Atlas from Bangalore, something like that?
You mean to say how to get data other than from other countries other than MLAT?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. There are a couple of arrangements by the government of India with respect to some of the G8 countries and G7 countries and other things that is happening. So we are trying to explore those channels to get that data. But yeah, as you all know, that the data, because of the VPN connections, VPN networks, the data is getting originated from a different country where we don't have a treaty, or where we don't have an agreement. So then there's a bottleneck which we are facing. So that is slowly under progress, but it will happen. Definitely yesterday's and day before yesterday's Interpol meeting should give a lot of traction to all these issues. Probably that will be deliberated.
Sure. There's another question. One of our guests says that they have experienced the similar issue which you were highlighting about the scams on the payment gateways or the e-commerce. So there are issues from the NGOs as
30
well on the
minutes.
donation, and we have seen many,
Huh?
emailers or notifications coming
Huh?
in the name
Huh?
of
Huh?
help, and we raise funds equally, but then it also is another method of the scam of fraud. So one of the suggestion was that there should be a central list of the approved NGOs. Definitely, while we work towards more of creating the repository, as Mr. Darshan was saying, this would come in handy for us. Now I would thank you, Dr. I'll come back to the enterprise side. So one of the questions we have received is what is the role of zero-hour trust in fraud scenario? So Adeep or Darshan, if you have any point of view.
Come again, Arpit. You said zero trust.
Uh, what is the role of zero-hour trust in fraud scenario? So we typically call in the industry, right, the zero-hour attack that we say. So
Yeah, 0 day.
zero-hour trust,
Uh,
yeah, zero-day attack that we say. So zero-hour trust in fraud scenario.
I'm not sure whether I understood the question clearly. Is it 0 day vulnerabilities which has exploited in enterprise environment?
I think it could be similar, right? Because this is what is happening. So even though we create a repository, repository of scammers, or the phone numbers or the name or agencies, the fraud agencies, but the process is so wide, and we are living in a country of more than 1.5 billion people. So uh, you know, uh, how can we address these zero-day scams? I would say that comes in because over the period of time, the old scams we are aware of. Most of the people who are digital savvy are aware of, this is happening, or they hear it from their peers. But there are scams which are
I,
happening,
I,
which comes fresh.
so I think so there is something called as golden hour. So if they send money to a stranger, they can actually go ahead and block it by calling specific number posted by NPCI and the relevant authorities. So there is one initiative run by government on this specific idea. And so but the whole point is like once they send money in that specific moment, since like UPI is like instantaneous, so if the other person tries to withdraw that money, and like if the account is like kind of like has like 100 rupees 200 rupees, like if they remove all the 20,000-30,000 rupees, if that's the value of scam, I think it's very difficult to catch that person. But having said that, like there is one initiative which is run by the government on this golden hour principle.
Yeah. So that, I mean, my 2 cents, Arpit, is so one is of course the what Adeep was talking about is push payments, which I think is one way where the immediate payment is actually completed. But I mean, from an enterprise environment standpoint, which is we call that as how enterprises are getting compromised is slightly different. If I were to speak from the enterprise perspective, uh, if you look at the enterprises, where we speak a lot of zero-day vulnerabilities, which is being and obviously state actors are involved in some of those things, like the way we saw some of those vulnerabilities being exploited by say some of the state-run organizations, right? But having said that, one of the key things, common platform that we are seeing is largely is many of the enterprises are still quite vulnerable because they're not doing their basic hygiene, and it all comes back to basics. So if you look at the bulk of our investigations, when we investigate enterprises when they're getting compromised, it's because they are not actually following basic hygiene in terms of, say, a vulnerability as a vulnerability or patching the systems, which is quite open there in the market, but they are not doing those basic checks. So that's hopefully I've addressed this question from the enterprise standpoint.
And we have Dr. Triveni back with us. I'm sorry, Dr. Triveni, I accidentally muted you and wasn't aware that you were unable to unmute. So I think you are back on the right time. We have a question, a fresh question, which says, what should be the priority? arresting and or recovery or collecting evidence to prove the act of accused in the court of law. So ideally, what should be the priority of public services? Arresting, recovery, collecting evidences, proving it wrong.
That is my duty, that is the duty of law enforcement agency. They have to register the case, they have to arrest, prosecute, then fight in the court, and then ultimately leading to the conviction. So that is our main, and that's why we have been recruited. The problem we are talking about is cyber security, then breach, then cyber crime. And that's why just I would like to quote one case. Even 3 days earlier, 146 crore rupees from Uttar Pradesh Cooperative Bank was transferred to different accounts, fraudulently by a fraudster. So when I went there on the crime scene, I found that the bank was maintaining SOC. The bank was having their own CM tools, IBM QRadar. Okay, everything was there. But what happened? The credential of maker and checker, the password were compromised. How they use, when I got the system footage, the employees were sitting, but they were not doing it. Means somebody sometimes back, they came, they implanted some device and then got remote access and then fraudulently transferred those 143 crore rupees. So what is the lesson? Lesson is there must have been some physical control regarding access to the system, because when we got the CCTV footage, then we found that at 8:30 a.m. early in the morning, 2 intruders were there inside the server room, inside the branch, and they were accessing the system 8:30 a.m. It means there was no physical control. Then there should have been some technical control also. What this CM tool was doing, what the cybersecurity team with huge billing per annum, what they were doing, just people are looking at, even they are not there, and that's why it happened. That's why I'm saying technology solution is, of course, it's very much needed, but who is going to read the logs, the red flags? The basic cyber hygiene, that there should have been some control mechanism on access control. It was not there. There should have been password protection, but their user ID password was, being compromised. If we are transferring some money from bank to some other accounts, the two credentials are needed. I mean, the maker and checker, both were compromised. How it was compromised, anybody could go inside the room. My emphasis, there should be some basic cyber hygiene, and it's not about only C-suite officers. If CISO is responsible, CIO is responsible. No, each and everyone, from sweeper to top bosses, they should know, understand. They should know it, because at 8:30, when I found the CCTV footage, then 2 girls were sweeping the room, number 1, and 2 people were there inside. The girls, their duty was just cleaning and sweeping, all that. They were not objecting. The guard was sleeping, or wherever he was not located there, So anybody can go anywhere in banking industry. Way back 2013, RBI issued a information security management system. And you go to a bank and ask branch manager or employees, they do have any understanding what is the information security management system? Is notification by the RBI. Have you gone through it? No. Have you gone through any training regarding cyber security? What basic cyber security countermeasures you need to follow at the bank branch levels? No. Similarly, there have been notification, by IRDA. You go to any insurer and ask their employees, do you have any idea that IRDA has issued any cyber security mandatory for you? No. So this is the awareness level among corporate. The data breach is happening. Is any corporate coming forward to get their case registered? No. There is hush, they don't want to go to the police. They will call some big four. They will conduct a forensic audit, but they are not going to big four. So have you heard in so many data breach cases happening in corporate sector, Any case came to the police? No. Any result, any arrest, any money recovery by the Big Four or by any audit agency? No. So how long it will go? Because once data breach is there, it's a criminal case. It's mandatory on the part of corporate sector to come to the police, get the case registered. Only then all the stakeholders, even forensic people, the police, experts, corporate sector, they should come on same board, and then they should think about the solution. It's not till the time you are going to you are just because of brand reputation. When you are thinking about my brand identity will be affected, let's not go to the police, let's go to some consulting agency and some private investigating. The problem will develop, so that's
yes, and I can very well relate. There were times, and from a digital documentation perspective, people see that there is some document or there is some data on my system which has got leaked. But going back to the old ages, the non-digital age, when we used to keep these important documents in lockers, and whenever there was a theft of those documents, we used to go and file a complaint. But now we don't emphasize on the importance of the data. What data, and people are not aware the common people are not aware of what kind of data is there on their systems, what kind of information they are getting phished from them. So completely agree in terms of that. It's not a straight simple solution to it, but all these different industries has to come on a single platform to combat this. And right now we as one of the largest country in terms of population, located on a small landmass, while we are accelerating on the digital journey, this is very important for us to ensure that we have a very basic hygiene in our home, which we call India. So completely on with you on that, sir. Thank you so much. We have the next question for the enterprise. So the question is, what are we doing to combat the payment of the cyber extortion demands in crypto? Are Indian crypto exchanges following the US sanctions? Are public-private partnerships are pursuing to track the ransomware payments? So, Mr. Adip or Darshan, what is your thought on these? From a crypto data theft, the frauds which are happening in the crypto, and right now people are banging on the crypto.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Adip.
yes, Darshan, you can go ahead. Go ahead, Darshan. I'll add my points later. Yeah.
So from my 2 cents in that is there are cases. So one of the key things that let's look at the modus operandi which is happening. So now one of the key things is once data gets encrypted using a ransomware attack, typically the intruder has to get compensated. And one of the key things that that's where the decision needs to be taken, whether one would actually pay for the ransom or obviously give away and obviously then take legal recourse or get that. And we've obviously many of the organizations would have to make the difficult call because they have some very critical data which is good if it were to get encrypted. So one of the key trends that we are seeing today, earlier in ransomware, organizations would intruders would typically encrypt the data and then ask for ransomware ransom, and then and then start negotiating with the end user. And then typically the end users would then take a call that, oh, hey, this is not important data. But one of the key things that we have seen is today is that the intruders are there in the environment for a longer period of time, observing what is very critical to you. In fact, in some cases, we have also seen whether the intruder also trying to figure out whether they have the organization has an insurance policy. What is the amount of insurance policy and what is the the amount that has been insured, and exactly make that particular claim. Or ask for that ransom. And then of course now to the point of recovering that money, it is difficult at the end of the day when you actually make a pay for the ransom. it's extremely difficult to recover that money, because obviously the money is cross-border. There are multiple jurisdictions that gets involved, and it's very, very difficult, unless and of course the intruder is in the same jurisdiction, for which you definitely need to take the help of our friends from the law enforcement. But that's typically what we are seeing, Arpit.
Sure. Mr. you have
So,
few points too.
yeah. So, in this specific case of crypto transactions, right? So, I think, like there is a mandate from the law authorities stating that like they have to report the frauds. But having said that, like as Mr. Triveni Singh was mentioning, most of these things happen hush hush. So I mean, like it's very difficult to track. But like if there is some level of like like incentivizing the whistleblower inside the organization or something on those lines, only then like these things would come out. Else, like it's very difficult for anyone to like really uh, uh, get to know these informations which are happening. Having said that, so there are many times like where we can actually track the Bitcoin transactions because it's mostly available, online, and we can see like which Bitcoin is transferring what kind of money and like what is the level of transaction which is happening. Probably like some analytics on that would definitely add upon some direction towards that. But at this point in time, it's very difficult since Bitcoin is mostly unregulated.
Sure.
Back to you, Arpit.
Thank you. So I have last two questions kind of related, and I'll try to answer that first. And then we will get into the final round of, the closing statements point of view from each one of you. So out of the last two questions, first question is, people are seeing of late that there are tons of messages which gets from a phishing perspective into social engineering attacks. And the gentleman who asked question is wondering why not telecom block these at their end, which is at the source, or the government draws the order. I think the challenge with that is these text messages come from a source, which is the source phone number. The second is these text messages contain some text which is curated for social engineering. Now, for telecom to scan all of these messages, they can scan with the source, which is the phone number, or with the keywords which are being used. But then the changes which are happening, especially in the text messages, are so difficult to track that the keyword, the normal keyword, which is that you have won a lottery, that can be a common keyword which can be tracked and highlighted as a scam message. But typically, you have a money you received in the bank. That's a very common statement. You receive genuine messages. So it becomes very difficult to parse between the text, which can be read by these telecom operators, considering the privacy of individuals. The second question again is in a similar manner, where a lot of companies are. Sorry.
May I answer the first question?
Sure,
it's very
Dr. Ving, please.
Question, So I wanted to explain it.
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah. So this SMS industry, bulk SMS industry, it's there is no controller. Nobody is to control that. Number one. So Department of Telecom, they have created a distributed ledger technology platform to regulate the SMS industry. So what you need to do, you have to create your header ID, number one, number two, message ID, and number three, entity ID. So anyone XYZ going to a telecom operator, and he is getting all three ID, and he is providing these ID to some SMS aggregators. The SMS aggregator, they have millions of number in their database. So their simple question is, sir, कितने हजार लोगों को हम भेज दें? आपने कहा कि 6 lakh. In my case, 6 crore message were sent. When I investigated a case, in that case, a SMS aggregator sent, within 3 days, 6 crore message in the name of part-time job, in the name of instant loan application, in the name of crypto trading. So my case started from 2.2 lakh rupees. A lady has lost in a fraud Yeah, it was in the name of part-time job. When I investigated the case, then I found, that 4,200 crore rupees have been collected by these fraudsters. And who are these fraudsters? They are operating from China. How? Because if you need to understand the architecture. What I'm a fraudulent company. I need to have my own current account in ICICI Bank. That will be a nodal number. Then I will give it to a fintech company. For example, Razorpay. In my case, Razorpay. Razorpay is, against that particular account, they are creating thousands of virtual accounts, and you can share these virtual accounts among the public. So what the criminals are doing, they are distributing these thousands of virtual accounts among these innocent, investors or job seeker, and they are sending the money. Ultimately, this money is going to the ICC account, pool account, and from there it's going to the JPay, cryptocurrency, Indian cryptocurrency exchange, because this is integrated with our banking system. And from JPay, the money is going to Binance, international cryptocurrency exchange. And from there, by using Mixer, they are sending to thousands of wallets located inside China. So when fortunately we got support from JPay, we got support from Binance, we got support from Razorpay, we got support from ICICI Bank. Then we cracked this the entire nexus. So what we found, that SMS industry, SMS aggregator, there is no regulated rights. Payment aggregator, not regulated. Payment gateway, not regulated. So what the criminals are doing, they are exploiting these loopholes, gray areas in our legal system, in our regulatory system. They are finding out some gray area. They are exploiting those gray area to commit the crime. And you can think the investigation, which is started from 2.2 lakh rupees, culminated into 4,200 crore rupees going outside country. So this is the scenario.
That's a huge scale. Surprising. And with that, I'll move to the next question. I think it's in a similar line. Thank you, Dr. Triveni, for that insight. The next question is around the data. So the question is that a lot of these companies are putting customers' data at risk. What protection consumers have at their end? And also, most often, these breaches hardly get reported, as you mentioned earlier as well, that companies hesitate to report these incidents of hack or breaches. So how can these kind of issues be tackled? One is definitely, I say that as I started with the theme of the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, is see yourself in cyber, where unless we become educated ourselves, we have to be more proactive in current world to understand what is happening around us in terms of what are the best practices. But from our panel, what are the thoughts around how can these kind of issues be tackled, where today we use a lot of these companies, a lot of apps where data has been tracked and they are not maintaining the sanity of the data?
So if the data is sensitive personal data, you have the legal option. You can go to the adjudicating authority. Adjudicating authority is Principal Secretary Information Technology in the state. By virtue of his post, he is designated as adjudicating authority. So in case my sensitive personal data, like my biometrics, like my health records, my bank account number, if these are compromised, definitely I have the option to go to and ask for the compensations, and the corporate will have to pay the compensation to the victim. The problem is that we are not aware about this legal mechanism also. We are not and in most of the states, this adjudicating authority, they are not functional in true sense. Secondly, if data relates with personally identifiable information, for that, personal data protection bill was about to come, still, in process of redrafting. So when the act will come related with my the personally identifiable information on my personal data, then it's a different issue. Otherwise, even today, the law exists that if my personal sensitive data is breached and it has been shared by someone, And I do have objection, I can go to the court, I can seek the relief. This is the way. Still, this is in the laws. You know.
Sorry, I was on mute. Darshan or Deep, any points from you on data, how an end user data can be secured, or what an end user can do to ensure that their data is taken care by these small enterprises who are not even adhering to any kind of regulations?
So I mean, one smart hack what I can actually think about is like go and search in the breaches. If there is like a search engine which actually like lists all the breaches, like if they search there, okay, my data was leaked from like company X, and probably like those companies should go if there is a smarter way or like the easier way where like these people actually go ahead and like put like at least an online case. So I think like this would create fear in the ecosystem, and like eventually it percolates towards the design of the architecture, or taking like policies like super seriously and things around these things. I think the basic problem is customers don't know whether their data is breached. I mean, that's the basic thing. So until then they know, I mean, there is no need for the end customer to really go ahead and like do all these things. But the basic thing is to help them know, and to make them help them know. I think like these kind of like hacked solutions can actually help them to really understand their data is breached. That's point number one. And second one is, uh, before, I mean, like if you look at like all the social engineering mechanisms, right, like these things are too good to be true. Like a part-time job fetching 50,000 rupees per month, right? Or like you have one like 5 lakh rupees lottery. Like most of these things are too good to be true. And like me coming from middle class, I have seen too good to be true. It's more vulnerable, right? I think a definitive mindset change around that, making sure that if it's too good to be true, I mean, be cautious. An awareness around like changing the mindset would really help in really making people think that if it's too good to be true, don't go ahead and with that. Probably like the case which is Dr. Triveni Singh explained. I think most of these are hitting like lower middle class, upper middle class kind of people who think, okay, I can make money, and they dream about like multiple things from their hands. This is what like people are using. So I think awareness around if it's too good to be true, don't believe it's that's really important to really pass on that message to the society.
I think we need to go back to some of the moral quotes which are there. So it is said, right? Greed keeps men forever poor. Lalach buri bala hai. So
Yeah,
and the greed can be of anything. It may not be of the money, but then if you see the challenges that we face in India as a developing country, there are a lot of challenges, and people have genuine causes and issues where they desperately are looking to get some sort of job, and when they see a message which comes as a hope, they get into that greed. So I think even not accepting that you have certain hardship, it is part and parcel, it is right, the time of hardship for you, you have to fight it rather than seeking out easy way out from that. Darshan, I
exactly.
think you had certain things you were trying to say.
Yeah, just make it quick, Arpit, since we are running out of time. So one thing, for the enterprises, there are two kinds of enterprises, right? So one is enterprises who know there is a compromise in their environment, and the enterprise who do not know that there has been a compromise in their environment and there is an incident. So I can tell you for a fact that the second category of the enterprises who basically, there are many enterprises today, and that's the brutal truth, since I come from the enterprise world, is that many organizations do not know they're being compromised. Like the way Mr. Triveni was saying, that this bank at the end of the day, could not even detect that there was a compromise till the fraud essentially happened. So there's a huge chunk of it, and so today everyone is careful about the brand. At least otherwise they're too small and they don't care for them to last. But any caring brand, they're very conscious, and if anyone has any of their data being compromised, first reporting to them, and is one classic thing. I'm sure no enterprise would want to be quoted and in the wrong light. At least consciously, at least the leadership team would not want to do that. So that is one perspective that I just wanted to share, that the big problem today which we are facing is on the second part, which is many enterprises do not know even they are compromised. And that's why I was talking about the dwell time over 180 days. An intruder is there in their environment, and then is when they're able to detect. And on the first part, I think regulation is the one which has to, if you know an incident and you've not reported it, like the way it happened for one of the large mobile taxi companies in the US, which had basically the leadership team knew there was a compromise, but they didn't report it. That's a major offense, and that is something that regulations like the Data Protection Act or the bill, which is hopefully becomes an act someday, and then like the way we were talking about the existing legal framework which exists, should be the recourse for making enterprises more accountable to report such kinds of things. But one last thing, I think on the first part, in the West, there is this mandatory disclosure. And I'm sure there was one large power company in India which got compromised, and lots of letters went even to the regulator. I think many companies have started making those disclosures to their affected parties, saying that once there's a compromise, they put it out. I think it's slowly coming in, but we are still a long way to go, and regulation has to play a role in it. I'll put it back to you.
Yeah, and I think there are strict regulations coming in, and Dr. Sharath and Triveni sir will also agree to it. So until now, these enterprise or corporate industry was not too much under the purview of law, right? You tend to miss out, some policy configuration in your corporate which leads to data breach, or some form of breach, but it was ignored. It was not brought under a stringent law. And recent one which became the big news in the global corporate world, without taking the name, one of the CISO was caught under the law, right, because of being part, unknowingly being part of that breach, right, where we were not informed. So with that, we are right on time. Thank you, gentlemen, all of you, for being part of today's discussion. I hope our attendees got some insightful messages, and I'm looking, forward to meeting all of you, my panelists, Dr. Triveni Singh, Mr. Deep, Mr. Darshan, Mr. Dr. MD Sharath, to meet you in person, and then figure out how Data Security Council of India can participate and take this and be the bridge between the MeitY and you as the agencies of corporate and public services. So thank you so much, gentlemen. Have a good day, and the weekend is closing in with the festivities, so please have a great time. For our attendees, please be more aware during these festive times in your e-commerce sale season, everything spending. Be more aware, look around you, and you have to be the part of cyber. You have to see yourself in cyber, then only you can make it secure. Pointing fingers or expecting that somebody will come and with a magic wand and you will be saved is not the right thing. We have to be together part of it. Thank you all. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.